Well, as you said, my education, first of all, actually, it's just lovely to be here with you. I really have to commend you, working in the heart of the beast, if you will, there in Houston to meet your patients on a personal level and provide this invaluable service of actually putting the food in their mouth and showing them what a healthy plant-based diet can do for them and following up like cardiologists can do. You're just such an exemplar. This is how medicine should be practiced in the 21st century, which I'm going to eventually get to it. And actually, my talk, what I wish I learned in medical school about nutrition, actually ends with physicians like you, because this is really what we should have learned in medical school, and how wonderful that you came to that on your own. Um, as you said, I'm just started out as an old country doc. I'm just an old GP that took a lot of additional training and carried the surgical pager in big city hospitals and saw a lot of blood and guts medicine. And went out and did general practice, and I would see my patients, take your medical history, do a physical exam, get a diagnosis, get them on the right medicine, refer them to the right specialist, and dun, 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 I did my job, and I practiced good, responsible medicine for the first 10 years of my career. But much to my dismay, I watched my patients not getting healthy despite my long hours in the emergency room and in my general practice office. I watched an upward progression of numbers. Their weights continued to go up, their blood pressures would go up, their inflammatory markers would go up, their blood sugars go up. And so with the number of calls I'd be getting from the emergency room, Joe's in here with a chest pain and Mary's in here just had a stroke. And I felt like a complete failure as a physician. No matter what I was doing, my patients were getting worse and worse. And I, after 10 years of that, I had to really take a pause and decide, is this the best use of my time? Maybe I should go become an anesthesiologist. And I did training in that field because I didn't know I wasn't helping my patients. I felt totally impotent and a bit of a medical fraud because my patients weren't really getting healthier. And as I had my own plant-based epiphanies, and we can talk about what happened to me, working in the operating room on the cardiovascular anesthesia service in Vancouver day after day. I'm putting people to sleep and watching surgeons open their patient's chest and open the arteries in their heart, as you know well, and pulling out this yellow, greasy gut called atherosclerosis. And I had a real interest in that because one, my dad died of clogged arteries. I know I've got those genes. And there are already studies in the medical book in the 80s saying that this is a reversible disease, and a plant-based diet is the key to that. And I realized that unless I changed my diet, it was going to be my body on that operating table with that striker saw going up my sternum, and I sure didn't want that. I saw those folks, and they woke up in the recovery room. They were very uncomfortable, and so I changed my diet. I went to a plant-based diet. My body loved it. Within 12 weeks, a 20-pound spare tire of fat melted off my waist. My high blood pressure went to normal. My cholesterol went to normal. I felt great waking up in a nice lean body every day. And at that point, I realized that even after 3 years of anesthesia training, that I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist anymore and spend my career literally putting people to sleep. I'd rather go back to general practice and help them wake up, right? Because now,
Wow. Ha, 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 ha.
now I understood what I was looking at. And much to my parents' dismay, I had 6 months to go in my anesthesia residency. And do you know the money you're giving up? But it just wasn't in truth. I really wanted to go back to primary care because now I knew what to tell my patients. And that gets us around to the topic that I sent over to you, what I wish I learned in medical school about nutrition. Because it goes back to the fabric of medical education that you and I both grew up in as physicians. And I suspect I'm not too off base by saying that, yes, when we learned medicine and you and I spent many hours with Harrison's textbook of internal medicine open and reading about all these diseases and Robin's pathology, et cetera. And we're really good, as I said, at diagnosing diseases and coming up with some drugs or surgery for treatment. But now, knowing what I know, I wish that when I was a medical resident, that as much as we learn from the textbooks, you and I both know a lot of the real learning happens at 1 o'clock in the morning in the call room with the chief resident, the chief medical resident, or some young attending physician who's just come in. You spent 3 hours bailing someone out of cardiogenic shock, and you're all sitting around drinking coffee in the call room at 2 in the morning. And the chief resident, look, let's have a look at what you just saw, what we did, why we did what we did, and let's talk about the physiology. Man, that's where the real learning, really happens, as you well know.
Right. Right.
Um, well, well, I wish when I was a medical resident that some chief resident, some attending physician had sat me down and said, Doc, look, in the morning, you're going to go out to outpatient clinic and you're going to see this river of patients bringing their diseases to you. You'll see a lot of patients with a small group diseases. They're statistically going to be overweight, if not obese. Most Americans are in that category. They're going to have clogged arteries. They're going to have from high blood lipids, high blood pressure. They're going to show signs of angina or arteries clogging in their legs. And you're going to see a bunch of inflammatory diseases affecting every organ system, lungs, gut, joints. This is Western medicine in the 21st century. When you pull back the curtain in the exam room, no matter what specialty you're in, from obstetrics to anesthesia to emergency medicine, family, it doesn't matter. Who's sitting in front of us is Mr. and Mrs. America, generally, not everybody, but generally overweight, hypertensive, diabetic, clogged up, and inflamed. This is who we've become as a nation. And I wish some, as I said, some chief resident are attending and saying, now, why are these people sitting in this body in front of you in the exam room with their wheezy chest and chest pain, etc. And it's, of course, the food they're running through their arteries every 4 hours. And in my slide presentation, I show here's what happens when you eat a cheeseburger. For the next 4 hours, your blood is running thick with fat. Not everybody shows it optically densely, but everybody has a wave of saturated fat and triglycerides and cholesterol that goes through their bloodstream for hours, and that injures the walls of the arteries, makes them obese, and raises inflammation. And there's more than just fat in that blood. It's a high salt diet. There's salt in the meat, salt in the cheese, salt in the chips, salt in the fries, salt in the restaurant food. And the sodium not only stiffens our arteries and raises our blood pressure, setting us up for strokes and heart failure, but also we're learning now that high salt diets open the door to autoimmune diseases. It stimulates Th17 helper cells that open the door to lupus and autoimmune diseases. Who knew? But we know that now. So you're dealing with folks eating a lot of salt. You were supposed to eat no more than 1,500, 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Most Americans are eating 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 milligrams. So it's a high salt diet. It's a sugary diet. Nothing wrong with little maple syrup in your tea, but we're talking about eating sugars of food. When you eat a donut or a piece of coffee cake, you're eating sugars of food. It was never meant to be eaten as a food. And when you do that, this flood of sugars, fructose, maltose, dextrose, floods through the body, sticks to proteins all over the body, stiffens them, oxidizes them, damages them. In your eyes, it opens the door to cataracts. In your skin, it gives you wrinkles. And in the brain, it injures the arteries in the brain there, open the door to Alzheimer's. So it's a salty diet. In fact, this wave that goes through the bloodstream after a fast food meal, I'm talking about bacon and eggs for breakfast and cheeseburgers for lunch and chicken for dinner and ice cream for dessert. What that sends through the bloodstream is, I call it the red tide. It's a salty tide, it's a sugary tide, it's a fatty tide. It's full of oxidized animal muscle. No, nobody eats raw meat. The very act of grilling the burger and frying the chicken and broiling the steak oxidizes the cholesterol in the animal's muscle, and it's the oxidized cholesterol that we eat that gets into the walls of the arteries and sets off plaque formation. Um, Endotoxin, the stuff that from the bacteria in the slaughterhouse, the cutting surfaces that coat the meat. The bacteria die, their cell walls break apart, produces this stuff called endotoxin that makes your blood clot and depresses your heart muscle and releases histamine. And endotoxin is heat stable. Grilling the burger does not get rid of the endotoxin. So our meat eating patients are giving themselves a shot of endotoxin 3 times a day. Um, when you grill meat, you inevitably produce carcinogens, cancer-causing substances that rub on the stomach wall and gives gastric cancers. Rubs on the colon wall, gives colon cancers. And I could go a whole host of the TMAO, the stuff that is generated from the bacteria that a meat-based diet spawns in the gut. This molecule drives cholesterol into the artery walls. And the red tide has about 13 or 15 components to it, emulsifiers, those chemicals in the food that makes the ice cream soft and coaty on your tongue. Well, it dissolves the mucus in our intestinal membranes and allows food proteins to leak into the bloodstream and set off autoimmune diseases. As I said, the red tide floods through every tissue in our body, every cell in our body with every meal, and it sets off inflammation. It damages our arteries. It opens the door to autoimmune diseases. I wish someone had told me this. It's the food. It's the food, because you and I, when we open our textbooks or get online or ask the professors, what's the cause of these diseases? You run into these 2 words that stops all further thought. Etiology unknown. We don't know the cause of hypertension. We don't know the cause of atherosclerosis. And it's true on some, molecular level, we've not teased out every interaction between every gene and every protein. And there's a world of discoveries that need to be made on that level, and good for those scientists search them. But to overlook the implication in our medical education is what our patients eating has nothing to do with these diseases. Don't even mention, don't even ask about it in the clinic, because even if they tell you, one is a cultural issue. The Hispanic folks eat their meat and cheese, and the Asian folks eat their pork, and yada, 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 and you don't touch those. Can't touch that. Like MC Hammer used to sing, can't touch that. And
Oh, yeah.
so we don't, and we just walk right around it, and we give a tacit approval. It's okay to keep eating that. It's okay to keep sending that through your bloodstream every 4 hours. No, it's not. We have the same basic anatomy in our digestive system that the gorillas have up in the Rwanda rainforest, and they're all day they're eating leaves and fruit and vegetation. The occasional termite and beetle goes down their throat, I'm sure, but by and large, it's a diet of whole plant foods. They grow these magnificent bodies with rippling muscles, and they don't develop atherosclerosis. They don't develop type 2 diabetes. They don't develop high blood pressure in the wild. We should take a lesson from that, but we don't. We've devolved our diet into eating animal flesh 3 times a day. No other primate does that. And they don't feed their young animal flesh 3 times a day. We raise our children on this diet. No wonder we're seeing obesity in the kids, but now strokes and heart attacks in teenagers and 20 years old. It's, the red lights are flashing. It's the wrong food. It's like putting diesel fuel in your gasoline burning engine, or jet fuel. It's the wrong fuel. You're going to wreck the engine. And indeed, that's what a flesh-based diet does. Sir.
That's amazing, that
two takeaways from your comment. Thank you very much for that dissertation. It's beautiful. One little surprise is having Dr. Klaper quote MC Hammer. I love it. Uh, and but the other point you make is quite interesting with the primates knowing what to eat. And I sometimes state this to my patients and other people, in part in a semi-joking manner. You know, the apes know what to eat, dogs know what to eat, worms know what to eat, cows know what to eat. Human, we're supposed to be intelligent, we don't know what to eat. And not only do we not know what to eat, we don't know that what we're eating is harming. I mean, in fact, the most educated ones, like you say, the doctors, oh, what you eat doesn't matter. I mean, the dog knows what to eat that matters. An ape or worm knows what to eat, what matters. And a so-called intelligent doctor doesn't know what to eat matters. And it's just simply crazy to think about. Uh,
Oh,
no, go
okay.
ahead. This is but
Yeah. When I talk to, and you and I know this, when we talk to our colleagues about, do you ever talk to your patients about their diet? Now, one, I don't know anything about it. No one's ever mentioned to me. Nutrition's just a sissy science anyway. I'm up in the operating room doing real medicine. I'm in the cath lab doing real medicine. But what are you doing in the cath lab, doctor, and in the operating room? You're dealing with the infections and the infarctions and the amputations from what your patients are eating. You're all dealing with nutritional based diseases that could be reversed in the outpatient clinic with a referral to a plant-based dietitian. I'm working at a clinic where the patients come in, they're seen by the doctor, and the next stop is the plant-based dietitian. Everybody sees the plant-based dietitian and gets a truly healthy dietary program and gets followed up with either the dietitian or the food coach. And we're getting these folks actually healthy. It's amazing.
what,
Uh,
so I'm sorry, but I mean, you mentioned something else that triggered a thought, and it's very, very important. We're seeing, and I think what you're saying is right on. At the outpatient setting, we should be emphasizing nutrition, prevent them going. What we're seeing in our practice is that even in the most acute setting, nutrition has a central role in disease control and reversal. So we just published a case series on a defined plant-based diet and other integrative therapies. The case series of 7 patients with advanced heart failure. This is stage C and D heart failure, who had failed standard guideline medical therapy. One patient had multiple infarcts, multiple stents, EF of 20%, sent home to die on Milrinone. One person had bypass surgery, low EF. Another person too sick for a transplant, et cetera, et cetera. 7 patients with these conditions. Defined plant-based diet, et cetera. They all got better. EFs got better. Got off medication. This is the most acutely ill. We see them in the ICU, the CCU. I've treated them intubated, gotten them intubated, walked out of the hospital. So even the most acutely ill needs an aggressive defined plant-based diet as an integrative therapy, which will improve their outcomes. And we're on a mission to do some controlled studies and show just that. And we're doing some translation work with Georgia State University. But I mean, to your point, everybody needs to be on a defined plan. I don't care. I just did a video today. We're going to publish on YouTube. Patient had a cardiac arrest in our office, sitting in our lobby. VFib arrest. We shocked him out. Code blue in the office, shocked him out, and said by the time the ambulance got there, he was awake. On his way out, I asked him, look, did you cheat on your diet? He says, yes. From here on out, things are going to change. He got there, got a heart cath, we implanted a defibrillator. He was on raw detox diet, all those treatments in the hospital. From a resuscitated patient to prevention, plant-based diet, every stage of the course. So I don't care how cocky you are doing surgery, et cetera. Your patient needs to be on a plant-based diet as soon as they get out of the operating room.
And thank you for publishing that study. It's so important that we get this into the medical literature. Coming around the far turn there, as far as what I wish I learned in medical school about nutrition, 2 things. One, I wish someone had sat me down and said, first of all, doctor, are you aware that the diseases you're going to spend the majority of your medical career treating, the clogged arteries, high blood pressure, diabetes, these are reversible diseases. I wish someone had told me that. We get just the opposite message that high blood pressure, they'll take these pills the rest of their lives. This is lifetime medication. Diabetes, oh, once on insulin, always on insulin. Nobody gets off insulin. And autoimmune disease, oh, unknown etiology, you got to take prednisone the rest of your life. Nobody told me these reversible diseases. It's from the bad diet. Put them on a good diet, the diseases reverse. That would have been nice to learn in medical school. And second, that a whole food plant-based diet is step one. Not all you have to do, but it is the key to reversing these diseases. I wish someone had told me that. And this is the message where I'm now spending my time going to the medical schools in the country, because I realize the folks who need to hear this and understand this are the first, second, third year medical students before pharmacosclerosis sets into their brains and they think that drugs and surgery are the only treatment for these diseases. And the medical students are very receptive to this message. It's the most powerful tool they'll ever wield as far as reversing these diseases. And and it's great, you're a living example of, actually reversing these diseases. It's really, exciting to see. And it makes medicine fun again. Um, we're in the age of Ozempic and people want that quick fix. Give me the pill, give me the shot, let me lose this weight. And meanwhile, let me keep eating my cheeseburgers and pizza and fried chicken there and giving themselves, again, clogged arteries and losing weight, but meanwhile, their arteries are clogging and their cancers are getting, their colons are getting cancerous. And it's an excuse to keep eating bad food. But I'm losing weight. Yeah, but you can lose weight on cancer chemotherapy as well. And the sad part is that if they would just go to a plant-based diet, soups, chilies and curries and soups and salads and steamed veggies, the calorie density is so low that these delicious foods, they're mostly fiber and water. They don't stick to you. You pee out the water, you poop out the fiber, it passes right on through. If you go back for a third bowl of vegetable soup, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's vegetable soup. And people get lean. I never think twice about how many calories on my plate or how many carbs are on the plate. Pass the curry, I'll have another helping. And it's joyous eating, it's guilt-free eating. And to choose, we're just asking folks, just choose the bean chili instead of the beef chili. It's not that big a sacrifice, but it makes all the difference in the world, literally, and especially with global warming, it would even help that as well. And that's another issue. But it's the key. We should take the cue from the gorillas. Eat a diet of whole plant foods, and you too will. The biggest, most powerful animals on planet Earth, elephants and buffaloes and giraffes, they're plant-based eaters, and they grow to these spectacular muscular bodies here. So we should take the lesson from them. So anyway, it's the food, and I'm like the scout on the front lines yelling back to the reinforcements. It's been the food all along, and again. But you go to the hospital cafeterias and what we're telling, what the residents are eating at 2 in the morning as they get their third piece of pizza down and their second cheeseburger. We don't set a good example for our young docs as well as their patients. So, and if there's a McDonald's in the lobby or a Burger King in the hospital lobby, it doesn't set a great example. So we got our work cut out for us. But the truth is the truth. We need to change it. Our people are eating themselves to death, and good health is just a food choice away. And that's why you're doing such important pioneering work here.
Wow, amazing stuff. So you continue to work with medical students, right? You're
Oh,
lecturing.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. What impact? How many schools are you working with, and what impact are you seeing so far?
Right. We've established a nonprofit organization, 501(c)(3) called Moving Medicine Forward. Go to movingmedforward.org. We're doing a swing up the West Coast. I'm going to be speaking at Harvard, at Yale, at UMass, at Brown University in November. And I give them a slide illustrated lecture on what I wish I learned in medical school about nutrition. And anyone who would like me to speak at their med school, mostly we're doing this through Zoom, and the students organize an event, and I appear on their cyber screen and give them a slide illustrated lecture. This is what your blood looks like after you eat a cheeseburger, and here is why a whole food plant-based diet lowers blood pressure, etc. This is real science, not California woo-woo stuff. This is how the body, it wants to be fed. And so, if anyone's interested in having me speak at their medical school, so we do it mostly virtually, go to movingmedforward.org, and I'll be glad to thank you for putting that up, and I'll be glad to appear on their cyber screens as well.
I just put that link in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm gonna look at your website. I'll be in touch pretty soon. I wouldn't say affiliated with, but I'm working the part of the research team we're working with. The two professors that are on the research team, they have appointments at University of Houston. Most of their work is in the Department of Public Health, but they also have appointments in the medical school. So at U of H, it's a fairly new medical school. I think it's only about 3 years old or something like that. And it's primary care doctors mostly. So this would be an excellent topic for them.
I lectured at the University of Texas at Houston a couple of years ago, and Dr. Mehta from from your Department of Gastroenterology had me speak to the gastroenterology fellows at one of your downtown hospitals, and. And bless them, it's wonderful that they do the work they do. But I have a presentation, they're spending their time treating these egregiously inflamed intestines from colitis and Crohn's disease. And again, etiology unknown, maybe it's some bacteria. Doctor, do you think what the owner of that intestine is smearing on those membranes 3 times a day, the chili dogs and the fried chicken and the dairy protein, do you think that may have anything to do with why that colon is so angry? No, there's never been any studies showing that food makes any difference. And then I show them a slide with all the studies showing that the standard Western diet is indeed a driving force for all this intestinal inflammation, and that a plant-based diet allows the gut wall to heal. And they were dumbfounded. That's a revolutionary stuff because with these potent biological drugs, it's easier just to give them the shot of Skyrizi or other biologic agents. But they've got their own problems, those drugs, just like the Ozempic does as well. But anyway, every specialty needs to open the door in their minds to the power of plant-based nutrition to get people healthy and reverse these diseases.
So Ozempic is a nightmare. So how was it received at the end once you showed them the evidence? Was there did you get a sense that they were going to look into it, do more studies, or what was your take or sense of the
Right.
end
They Dr. Mehta, who's the head of the fellows at the Houston Hospital there, he's a vegan himself,
yes.
and he knew this, and he wanted
Yes.
some outside person to come in and tell his fellows that it's the
Yes.
food. And so apparently, when I talked to him afterwards, the response is very positive. And a few of the residents are not only tracking down the evidence of plant-based diets and inflammatory bowel disease, but it's always music to my ears. A few of them started changing their own diet.
Yes,
And
yes. Yeah,
and
that's probably Herman Hospital you spoke at. That's the teaching hospital of UT
yes,
and the medicine.
that's
Uh,
correct.
yeah, that's fascinating. So I presented grand rounds. So I presented our data at grand rounds to the CV surgeons there on 2 occasions years ago. Again,
Mhm.
well received, but some extent short-lived. Some people actually, 2 of the surgeons came to our boot camp detox. I did grand rounds, OBGYNs, and as your experience was, the eyes were open. Some made personal changes, but I just never got feedback as well as being integrated into their practice. And so it'd be interesting to see. But to see Dr. Mehta's there, so maybe through your influence and his persistence there, they may do something.
Indeed.
I'd be curious to find out. Amazing, amazing. So it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, University of Houston is another medical school. So 3 medical schools in Houston is Baylor, UT, and University of Houston. And so University of Houston is the one I may connect you with.
Uh,
And there may be a great reception there. It's newer, and these 2 professors are there, and so they're plant-based, and so I'll keep you posted on that.
Please do. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should check in with them and see. If people want to know more about my work, go to my own personal website, drklaper.com, and I've got healthy eating guides to download and recipes and all that. So I have 2 websites. Moving Med Forward is just lecturing the medical students, and drklaper.com is the practical information about food there.
Okay.
Do the attendees have any questions? Anything that I've said stir up any queries in anybody's mind here?
I'm working on your website. I've got a bunch of questions if they don't. Jackie, open the
I
floor
was
for
gonna
questions.
say, hey, guys, so feel free to unmute yourselves and ask questions, if you have any. I have a question. You 2 broke out. How did you have the courage to break out, and how do we identify other doctors that may be on the brink? And how do we reach out to them and get them? Like, for instance, my general practitioner keeps saying to me, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested. But, she spends so much time working. She doesn't, and has children, and she can't. So, but I'm thinking they're out there. They'll listen if we can show them how to do what you guys have done.
Yes, we're making up a 2-page handout to give to your family doctor. We need to, at least open the door in their minds to, that one, nutrition is important, and plant-based nutrition has a particular quality about it. If you go to my website, you'll see the handouts that I have there that can help. I'm sure Dr. Montgomery probably has literature to give to the doctors as well. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM.org. Yes, this is my website. This is drklaper.com. And if you go
There's
there,
a link in the chat.
yes, there's a link in the chat there. So we need to make our own doctors plant-based doctors, and it's doable. There's going to be more and more information on that, but don't be obnoxious with your doctor and say, "What you're not telling your patients about the nutrition? You're killing your patient." Don't be confrontational. Just and you don't have to say a lot. Just do it. There's lots of guides. And you can start gradually. Just have one plant-based breakfast a week. Just oatmeal with a soy milk or rice milk or hemp milk on it, some fruit. And then one plant-based lunch. I have a soup and a vegetable soup and a salad and a hummus sandwich. To have one lunch a week that's plant-based, then have one dinner a week of spaghetti with red sauce with vegetables instead of meat in it, and some steamed broccoli on the side. Get one breakfast, one lunch, one dinner. Oh, I made it through a whole day without eating any animal products. Wow, I can do it. I didn't die of protein deficiency. And gradually, lengthen that, expand that through the week, and just do it. And you're going to lose weight. And if you're on medicines, tell your doctor, listen, I've adopted a healthier diet. Will you work with me if these medicines for blood pressure become too strong? Will you work with me to reduce them? If you have type 2 diabetes, just tell your doctor, I'm eating a lower fat diet here. Will you work with me if we need to reduce the insulin dosage? And you don't have to be confrontational. Get your doctor on your side. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say plant-based, vegan. No, don't wave the red flag in front of the bull there. Just do it. Just start eating plant-based. Your body will know what to do. You're going to get leaner and healthier. And then you work with your doctor to reduce the medications. That's all you need to do. That example will speak volumes to your doctor if you just do it yourself. You don't need their permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we notice. A lot of our patients will make changes, and the doctors may not, I mean, as you alluded to, really would be receptive to the methodology. But one thing they do, because they'll ask, well, what about my primary care doctor? Look, I'm not getting in the way of that relationship, but here's the deal. They'll start the detox. We're going to see you 2 or 3 times, work with you, wean your medicine. So you go back to see your doctor in 3 or 4 months. weight's down, blood pressure's down, cholesterol's down, you're off your meds, doing better. They can't argue with those results.
Exactly.
So the methodology may argue with, but you come back, the proof is in the pudding. So if you focus on being dedicated yourself, then you're really going to benefit from the positive results, and that's really critical.
In my slide presentation to the young doctors, I have, here's what changes when you go from an animal-based diet full of saturated fat and cooked animal protein and TMAO and carcinogens and free radicals and AGE and all that. When you stop that, when the red tide stops, we have repair mechanisms in every cell in our body to repair our DNA, to repair our cell membranes, but they can't work optimally if every 4 hours you're flooding animal fat and cooked animal muscle and free radicals through your tissues. So you're flooding the red tide through your tissues every 4 hours. Those repair mechanisms can't function optimally. But when you stop the red tide, when you go to the soups and salads and steamed veggies and curries and chilies and plant-based foods, those mechanisms can now function fully, repairs DNA, repairs your cell membranes. It's a high water content diet. All the soups and salads and steamed veggies full of water. So the blood is more watery, it's less viscous, it flows more easily, and there's a surge of free-flowing blood through the capillary beds, bringing oxygen and nutrients. The green vegetables you're eating will increase the amount of nitric oxide produced in the artery walls, so you get this subtle vasodilation of the arteries. Well, there's a law in physics, Brazil's law, that if you dilate the arteries just a little bit, you get this big flow of increase in the blood flow of this more free-flowing blood. It's less oxidative. It changes the free radical balance in the tissue. I say, what changes in your body when you go from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet? Everything changes. You're a different physiology. The tissue chemistry is different. The cellular physiology is different. It's the difference between 1 and 0 in computer analogy. And that's why people get leaner and the inflammatory reactions go down and the arteries open up and they turn back into normal, healthy human beings in front of your eyes. It's the most exciting transformation in medicine. Medicine becomes fun. Again, I'm the happiest doctor I know. My patients get healthy, and that's why we went into medicine, isn't it? So
Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, I can identify with that because certainly in my practice, when I, went to this whole approach, it's easier to care for patients. Even the patients who are not fully compliant. It's amazing. But, we set a very high standard, not a bite, not a drop, not a crumb. And we really push that. But the patients who fail, who cheat, again, I shouldn't say it's among this group, y'all shouldn't fail or cheat, but, they still do better than if they weren't trying to get to that level. And so it's amazing how much better the patients do as a whole. Is almost just the fact of them hearing the words and the fact that working that direction, they do better. And I think that's an important thing. The messaging is important because the signals up here and that constant messaging occurs here, because even if on day 1 they don't comply, maybe 2 months, 3 months, 2 years later, all of a sudden they're eating better and things are turning around. Or maybe they do better and they regress and then they come back. It's that whole positive feedback that they're getting, plant-based diet, et cetera, fresh air, sunshine, et cetera. And so it eventually clicks and people do well. Touch on some of the medications. You mentioned Ozempic too. That medication is a nightmare. There's GLP-1 agonists are just simple nightmares. And I think we're on the threshold of a major, major human catastrophe for these drugs. We're already seeing people with, gastric stases, and I don't know what sort of cancers we're going to see, and probably pancreatic and GI. It's only time, and then they want to push it to the pediatric and also to the geriatric, even though these populations weren't well studied. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. There's an adage that you and I both know well from studying sciences. that in any complex system, whether a rainforest in the Amazon or the human body, any place where nature's doing her thing there, adage, you can't do one thing. Can't do just one thing. Everything you do sets off cascades of reactions that make you say, "Oh, I didn't realize. Oops." Well, same thing with these GLP-1 agonists. Oh, we're just slowing down gastric emptying. That's what you think you're doing, doctor. But meanwhile, for as you just said, in many folks, it's permanent. The stomach stops emptying, and now you got gastric stasis, and they're terribly bloated and malabsorbing, etc. It sets off a chain reaction that you change the microbiome downstream. Everything, as I said, sets off cascades of reaction. And now there's getting to be more suicidal ideation. Apparently, people are, what does it do? It's working in your brain. What else is it doing in your brain? It's more than just releasing ghrelin. It's affecting lots of areas in the brain. There are some of which have to do with emotion. Again, it's for what? Just choose the bean chili instead of the beef chili. It's all you really need to do. And yet we're willing to distort our physiology where we become so lazy. Give me the pill, doc. Don't ask me to change my diet. Give me that pill. Well, it's that pill, and all of its related medicines have untoward effects that we're learning about the hard way then. It's the food, it's the food, it's the food.
And I compared the other day, I published data on a defined plant-based diet compared to GLP-1 agonist data. And we measured within the first 4 weeks is 15 times faster in weight loss and about 10 to 15 times faster in A1C reduction. And so, oftentimes people argue, well, the medicine went fat. The medicine was slower than diet. Statin drugs are supposed to reduce C-reactive protein. It takes 2 years to reduce about 30%, while plant-based diet in 4 weeks reduce about 30+%. So the drugs take longer. The other thing I have a concern with is they do these studies on, say, a certain selected group, but the finite time period. GLP-1 agonist, one example, 18 months. But then they extrapolate to everybody forever. And then, what are your thoughts on the potential long-term effects? So maybe if I have a drug for 2 years and I see, side effect A, B, and C, but what if I took that drug for 10 years? Do I see D, E, F, and G side effects later?
Absolutely. And it's hard not to, there's a cynicism about, well, you just stay on the pills forever. That's all. Of course, it's okay to do you, doctor, what does it do to your cancer risk? What is it doing to your immune system? Well, we have no idea, but you just keep taking this pill, $1,000 a month. You just keep forking it over and stay on the medicine, and that weight will keep coming down. Because if you stop the pills, you blow right back up again. Unless you change your diet, which you should have done at the beginning. And a little caveat there, it's not that there's zero place for these medicines, but for whatever that window to be on it for 8 weeks or 12 weeks while you're learning how to eat a whole food plant-based diet is the key, so you can then taper off those drugs without getting a big rebound weight gain and get on with your life eating a healthy diet. To stay on these pills forever or these shots causes me great concern. It's a cynical, manipulative approach to the American public who are all struggling with obesity from the we seduce them, in childhood. As you all know, atherosclerosis is a pediatric disease. We're seeing it in kids. These children killed in car accidents. You open their aortas, and at age 9 and 10, they already have the yellow streaks of atherosclerosis. We addict them, or we hook them with the burgers and the fries and the pizzas in childhood, and decade after decade after decade, those tastes get locked in there, and trying to change it is like trying to turn an ocean liner. But we have no choice. We have to do that. We are really doing our children a disservice, and they don't stay children very long. We're raising a generation of adults who are obese and clogged up and diabetic and hypertensive and inflamed. This is not a healthy nation, and education is needed to make plant-based food taste great, make it cheap, because it really is. Rice and beans are cheap. People say, oh, it's expensive to eat this way, but it's not. The staples that provide the calories and the protein, the chickpeas and the lentils and the beans and the grain, they're cheap. You can buy a 20-pound bag of rice for $6. You can buy a 20-pound bag of lentils for $15. You can eat for a month off of those. So there's really no reason, with all the wonderful international cuisines, to make these foods taste delicious. There's no, as you provide for your patients in your restaurant there, Baxter. There's no reason that we can't lead America by their tongues to healthier eating, and it's really what we need to do.
What are your thoughts about the quality of food from the procurement standpoint? There's a lot of talk, and we're looking into this. In fact, we have a garden in the back of our building. We're getting ready to contract our lawn people to grow stuff. We got 10 acres north of our place. We're going to start growing because there's a big concern spraying everything with glyphosate, the poor soil quality, et cetera, et cetera. The fruits that we get are not the ideal fruits, so they're being harvested long before ripening. So what are your thoughts on that? What should one's approach be, from an individual standpoint, at least, to combat that? You go to your average supermarket. Now, of course, we look up organic, but I mean, I tell about people not to eat the grapes without seeds or the watermelon without seeds and other GMO factors. What's your take on that? How do you counsel your patients in that regard?
Well, we have to start with the fact that, and there might be some criticism, but any whole plant food is going to be healthier than any animal-based food or any food that's been processed, period. That's, square one. Even if that plant-based food has been grown commercially with pesticides, it's still going to be healthier for you than a cheeseburger.
That's what I think it's, yeah.
And even if it's GMO'd, you do the best you can. As I mentioned, it's not a perfect world here, but the staples, the potatoes, the rice, the beans, the greens, etc. They're really cheap. If you're not buying steaks and premium ice cream, you've got some money left over to buy the broccoli, to buy the kale. And so you can make these big batch hearty stews and soups and curries and chilies, freeze half of it and eat for 3 days off the big batch of food that you've made there. And it's easy to get through the week with a little bit of planning and buying the foods in bulk for very low cost. And as far as the GMO and the organic, absolutely, use your pennies wisely. As far as the organics go, the pesticides, many of them are sprayed on the surface of the veggies. So the food you can peel, the oranges, etc., avocados, not quite so critical that you get those organic. But the foods you can't peel, the leafy greens, the root vegetables, that's where you should, if you've got a few pennies left over, buy those organic and support the farmers who are taking care of the soils to grow these vegetables without lots of chemicals in them. But if you're in a restaurant, whatever, and it's a conventionally grown salad, eat the salad. It's going to do you more good than saying, nope, that may have some GMO lettuce in it. And by the way, the soy products, which are real heroes in our food panoply here, for both women and men. People say, well, what about all the GMO soy and all stuff? The GMO soy is animal fodder. It's shoveled down the gullets of millions of cows and pigs and chickens. If you buy organic tofu and organic tempeh, the word organic guarantees that there's no genetically modified soybeans in that product there. So that is one place to really save your pennies and buy the organic soy products. So don't let the GMO scary guy there put you off from eating whole plant foods as often as you can.
So I mean, and I agree with what you're saying. So basically, you start from the basics, all the basics. Start whole food, plant-based, be as economical as you can. As you get used to doing that, then you can work your way to more advanced things, organic, non-GMO, et cetera, growing your own, local growers, et cetera, which is sort of what we promote. But some people can be tricked into not getting started based on all the other, confusing things, but just get started with plants and then work your way up from there.
Indeed.
Wow.
Jay?
Can I ask a question? I guess I've been wondering what has been driving our obesity epidemic. You see pictures of people on the beach in the 1950s and everybody is thin. I watch old episodes of Soul Train, all the kids are thin. And so many of my friends focus on sugar as the enemy. Not saying that sugar is our friend, but they don't seem to consider that there seems to be oil in everything nowadays, which I don't remember. I don't remember there being oil in Wonder Bread as a kid. And there's oil in everything today. Do you think that might be a bit of a driver of the obesity? Like, what is causing this? It's
Oh,
just it's out of control.
it is. And without wading too deeply into the physiologic weeds here, that goes like this. The problem is we get two kinds of fuel in our diet that we can burn for energy: carbohydrate, sugars that plants make, and fats, which plants also make in avocados and walnuts, etc. We can burn either sugars and fats, but it's easier for the body biochemically to burn sugars, to blow apart a glucose ring, than it is to metabolize these long chain fats. So there's something called oxidative priority. It's easier to burn the sugars than the fats. So when we eat sugar and fats at the same time, oil on your pasta, ketchup with sugar on your burger, with the white bread flour, sugar in the white bread, etc. The fat sugar combo, when that hits our bloodstream, the body says, sugar, fat. Oh, I'll burn that sugar now. I'll store that fat for later. So it's that sugar fat combination that really sticks to us. You burn the sugar and store the fat. So ice cream is fat and sugar. That's what the stuff is. It's a great weight gain food. Pizza, you burn the sugar in the crust. You store the fat in the cheese and the sausage. Steak and potatoes, you burn the starches in the potatoes. You store the fat in the beef. It's the sugar fat combo and all the fast foods, the burgers and the pizza, etc., buffalo wings. Their sugar and fat combination, the chicken fat and the corn, breaded corn crust, etc. So it's the sugar fat combo that the food companies have been just deliciously diabolic in finding ways to get that into the hyper palatable foods. We love that taste of sugar and fat on our tongue, a little bit of salt thrown in there. And so the fast food companies have really honed in on this, and they're leading us around by our tongues. And meanwhile, with this steady stream of fat and sugar going down the intestine, and we burn the sugar and store the fat, and that's what's been driving the obesity epidemic. Rice and beans don't do that to you. They are low fat. Salads and soups and steamed veggies have very little fat. The calorie density is low. Whole plant foods don't stick to you. You can eat all you want. That's the beauty of whole plant foods. It's the processed foods with the animal products, the dairy, the meats, the oils, as you mentioned. That's what's sticking to us, especially when
Do you agree with what Dr. McDougall used to say, which was that the fat you eat is the fat you wear? Do we have to be careful of
when
consumption of fat?
yeah, when the fat's eaten in excess in the presence of sugars, yep, that's true, and that's what fast foods are. They're fat sugar combinations with a little bit of, well, even the protein is dripping with fat in the burger and the fried chicken, etc. We eat a lot of fat along with these sugars, and it sticks to us. Right?
Yep.
So,
Great. Any other question? This has been fantastic. This has been a great dissertation. And again, I always learn a lot, Mike, when you speak, and I'm sure our audience has gained a lot from this. I want to applaud you in the work that you're doing with the medical students and the medical schools, because I do think we need to intervene. It's brave work because, again, those guys are, medical school and training it's an indoctrination process. And so, I mean, you're trying to wake up the dumbified and mummified. So, God speed to you. It's just, an amazing task. I mean, and seriously, I find it easier to talk to my patients in the general public than to talk to the so-called medically educated. And I think it's just because their brains have been rewired or whatever the case may be. But again, Godspeed to the work you're doing, because I think it's really important work. And I'm gonna look at the website. I'll be in touch with you regarding connecting with us here in Houston, especially when I talk to my colleagues at the University of Houston Medical School, because I think they'll get a lot out of this. And so on behalf of Montgomery Heart and Wellness community, I want to thank you a great deal for what you've done. I look forward to working with you in the future and us meeting up at different times. Are you going to be at Plantrition?
I sure am. Yes.
Okay, I'll see you
See you
there.
down in
Yeah,
2 weeks. I'll see you down in Anaheim.
Look
Yeah,
forward to connecting then. But anyway, without further ado, thank you very much, and really appreciate
thank you, Pastor. Blessings, everybody. You well.
All right, good night. Y'all have a good
Good
one.
night, everybody.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.